Hey guys, we're almost done. 2 more videos done for the day. And there were a lot of short videos, don't forget. Okay, so let's go ahead and do volume. I sure can't remember if I put a volume one on the final. I'm guessing I did, but I can't remember which one. I'll have to look. Okay, so volume, we're going to look at our formula sheet, and you can see the volume. Here's the volume of a rectangular prism, so shoebox, length times width times height. Volume of a pyramid is 1/3 times the side squared times the height. Volume of a cone, 1/3 times pi times r squared times h, and so on. So all the formulas are here. Remember, you don't have to memorize them for the final. The only ones you have to memorize are the 3 that we started. Perimeter and area of a square, perimeter and area of a rectangle, perimeter and area of a triangle. And I always tell students, don't memorize perimeter. Just add the sides up. Remember, perimeter's around the outside. So why memorize a formula? What a waste of time. Just add up the 4 sides around the outside. Add the 4 sides. Add the 3 sides. So perimeter really isn't a formula. So really these are the only ones you need to memorize are the area. Area of a rectangle, length times width. And a square's length times width. So really you can throw this out. So there's only 2 formulas to memorize. And do you want me to tell you how to remember that one? So if you cut a rectangle in half, that makes a triangle. So that's why a triangle is half base times height, because it's half of a rectangle. Because we could call this the base and the height, and the formula could be area equals base times height. And so since a triangle is half of a rectangle, just put a little half in front. So I always taught myself tricks like that just to help me remember. So those are the 3 you need to know, and everything you do for a rectangle, you do for a square, so you can really throw it out. So really, your job is to remember length times width, 1/2 base times height. That's it. Okay, so let's work on volume. We have our formula sheet here. Find the volume of each figure. Each unit is 1 cubic inch. So 1 cubic inch, that's a volume because it says cubic. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 would be 3 inches cubed, which is read cubic inches. So 3, and here we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 cubic inches, because they told us what 1 was, so we just look at the picture and write what we have. This is a rectangular solid, and remember, V equals L times W times H. And like I said, the very first thing you should do is write the formula down when you get back to your paper. So V equals L times W times H. So length would be 4. The width would be 2. And how high it is would be 3. And so we have 8 times 3, 24 centimeters times centimeters times centimeters is centimeters cubed. So 24 cubic centimeters or centimeters cubed. And volume, remember, is always cubed. Hello, Kim, get your paper on the screen. Boy, that drives me crazy when I look up and it's not on the screen. I'm sure it drives you crazy too. So length is 4, width is 2, height is 3, 8 times 3 is 24, and centimeters times centimeters times centimeters is centimeters cubed, which we know all 3-dimensional figures are going to be cubed. Okay, next we have a cylinder. Now when it does tell us to round, I like to highlight it just to remind myself. So nearest tenth. Remember, tenth is 1 decimal place. This one tells me to use 3.14 as pi, so it gives me permission. I don't need an exact answer. So first let's look at the cylinder. The volume of a cylinder is pi times r squared times h. So we're going to write that down, and maybe it's a good idea to put the times signs in between just to remind you. So pi times r squared times h. So now we're ready to plug in. So pi is 3.14 times r, remember, is the radius, and you can see right here this is pointing to the radius. So that's 1.5 squared times the height. And the height, remember how I told you, is always beside the right angle statement, so that would be 6. So let's go ahead and do this on the calculator and practice. So type it in basically just like you see it. So we're going to do 3.14 times 1.5, and then we hit the squared button. See how it puts a little 2 there? And then times 6. We don't have to do each piece. We can just type it in one big step, hit enter at the end. And the reason we can do that is because the calculator's programmed with the order of operations. So it knows to do exponents first and then multiply left to right. So you can just plug something in and it performs the order of operations on it. So this is V equals 42.39. And then it says nearest tenth. So 3 followed by a 9 means make it 4. So now we write V is approximately 42.4 feet times feet times feet is feet cubed. So approximately 42.4 feet cubed. I should have made that underline in a different color. So nearest tenth, but see how easy it would have been to forget that? You would have just circled that answer, put the thing in. That's why I always underline it to remind me, oh, at the end I got to be sure and round. So it goes tenths, hundredths, thousands. So tenth is 1 decimal place because 10 has 1 0. So 3 followed by 9 is 4. And again, it's volume. All volume problems are cubic units. And we can check it on our calculator by going across the screen. 3.14 times 1.5 squared times 6 to verify that everything's good. So you can use your left and right arrow to go back and forth. Okay, number 4, the volume of a hot air balloon in the shape of a sphere. So there's our key word right there. It's a sphere. Diameter 30 feet, that's pretty important. Round to the nearest 100 cubic feet. Notice it's not hundredth, it's 100. 100 is over here. So don't be confused when you go to round that. So they want it rounded to the nearest 100. So it's going to be like 55,400 or 67,800. So that's what nearest 100 means. It's not hundredth, it's 100, which is before the decimal place. And look at this, they're changing things up. They want this as pi. not 3.14. And like I said, if you use 3.14 when they give you that, your answer will be off by a couple decimals. And when you're taking a computer test, it's right or wrong. So if your answer is off by a 1 decimal, the whole problem's wrong. So you have to be very careful, do what they say, and make sure you round correctly too. So let's bring out the formula for the volume of the sphere, which is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. So 4/3 times pi times r cubed. Let's write that formula down. And then we're just going to plug into the formula, and then we'll plug into the calculator. So V equals 4/3 times, in place of pi, they told us to write 22/7. In place of r, it says the diameter's 30. Oh, this is a huge mistake by students. So they take that number and put it right there. D and R are not the same thing. Sometimes they don't give you the right number. I would say 70% of the time they don't give you the right one. So don't just take that number and do that. This is the diameter, so we need to cut it in half to use it for a formula that has radius. So don't always think they're going to give you and hand feed you everything you need. That is not the case, especially in geometry. Geometry, it seems like they always want to trick students. They aren't asking the question that students think they're going to ask, or they tell you to round to some weird number or whatever. So just be careful with that. If this is R, you can only put R in. You cannot put D in its place. So this would be 15 cubed. So you guys ready to me to show you how to do that on the calculator? It's wonderful when you get to use a calculator. So I kind of wish you guys would have got to take the, oh well, I'll do this, the chapter 4 test, so you would have got to practice more. So let's do 15 cubed first, just to get rid of that cubed. So that's 3375. So this is 3375 over 1. Okay. I didn't need to do that. In fact, I'll show you without doing that, because that's kind of goofy that I even did it. I was talking, and when I'm talking, I don't pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm not a multitasker at all. That's why I didn't make a very good waitress, probably. Okay, so let's go ahead and type this in. So 4. Actually, I want to be up closer so you guys can see the keys. Okay, here we go. So 4 fraction bar 3 times 22 fraction bar 7 times 15. And remember how I said this is any exponent bigger than 2, so you do caret 3. And that is my answer. That means it's too big of a fraction to put in the calculator, so it gives you the answer in decimal form. Had I done this, let me go ahead and write this down. 14142, so 14,142.85714. And when it fills up the screen like that, that means it goes on forever. So if we had done this step instead, you would see we get the exact same answer. So I just want you to know it doesn't matter if I do that first or if I just type it in. So let me move over so you can see. So if I was doing this step, I do 4 fraction bar 3 times 22 fraction bar 7 times 3375 fraction bar 1, and see how I get the same answer. So it doesn't matter whether you work that out or just start right there and do it. I mean, why even do that step, right? It's extra work. unless you're talking your head off like I am and not paying attention. Okay, so on the next video, we'll round that and put a units on it.